On a dark and stormy night in the hills of ancient Greece, 300 soldiers would enter a sleeping rival city and kickstart decades of brutal conflict between two ancient allies turned foe, Sparta and Athens. So follow me, dear viewer, as we cast our minds back to ancient times and distant music. A time of wars and a time of siege. A time not too long ago, all things considered.
During the years of 431 BC to 404 BC, the Second Peloponnesian War was a conflict between Sparta and Athens for dominance over ancient Greece. Catalogued in the history of the Peloponnesian Wars, the ancient historian Thucydides said, "The growth of power of Athens made war inevitable." In the 50 years leading up to the Peloponnesian War, Athens had grown rich following a series of wars with Persia. As a result, the city-state had consolidated an Athenian empire that consumed almost the entirety of the Aegean coastline and all the islands in the Aegean Sea. Athens raised their allies to power, forming the Delian League. Many weak city-states forced to pay tribute to Athens, funding the city-state's oppressive navy. However, in the neighboring region of the Peloponnese, Sparta and her allies began to feel Athens' grip around their throat. After a series of aggressions, a 30-year peace treaty was broken in a mere 14. What follows is the story of Plataea, a city allied with Athens that would be the spark that ignites the war between these two ancient superpowers. At the start of the war, Sparta summoned her allies and formed the Peloponnesian League, a collection of city-states with superior land forces to challenge the Athenian Empire. A premier member, the city of Thebes, thought to expedite the march on Athens by making a fly-by night attack on their blood-sworn enemy, the city of Plataea. Thebes had a particular grudge with Plataea. Located in the region of Boeotia, Plataea decided to ally with Athens instead of sticking with their Boeotian brothers and joining Thebes. Under the cover of darkness, a force of 300 Theban soldiers was let in by a treacherous party inside Plataea. These Plataeans wished to deliver the city over to Sparta and her allies as a bid for their own power. The Plataean traitors urged the Theban soldiers to commence the slaughter immediately upon their arrival. To their credit, the Theban soldiers thought that a night attack might devolve into chaos, which is exactly what you don't want when you're in unfamiliar terrain. Instead, the Theban soldiers sent a herald to the leading class of Plataea. This herald's message was simple. Plataea should join Boeotia and Thebes against Athens. As the herald's words rang through the night, the Plataeans came to the horrible realization that, "Oh, good Zeus! Our city has been occupied by Theban soldiers!" Plataean leaders had no way of knowing just how many enemy forces were let into the city. Immediately fearing the worst, they began to negotiate with the Theban herald, if only to buy time for their forces to gather. As the night went on, somehow the Plataeans realized just how pathetically small the Theban force actually was. To this day, we don't know what gave it all away. In the first of many displays of moxie in our story, the Plataeans decide to strike back. While the Theban soldiers controlled the streets, the Plataeans began to break down walls in their homes, creating a secret network of tunnels throughout the city. As soon as enough citizens in fighting shape came together, the Plataeans used their tunnel network to launch a surprise counterattack. This coordinated assault on the Thebans caused the city to erupt into violence. This was the Theban soldiers' worst fear, the exact thing they were trying to avoid. The Thebans repelled the assault twice or thrice, but in the end, they were hopelessly outmatched. Thucydides notes that even the women and slaves of Plataea began to fling rocks and heavy items down on the Theban soldiers from the rooftops. In the end, panic shattered Theban discipline. Breaking ranks, soldiers scattered in every direction. They were desperately trying to navigate their way out of this nightmare city. With darkness as their only companion, Theban soldiers tried to flee out of the city by means of the gate they came in. The Plataeans were one step ahead of them. The citizens had drove a javelin through the place where the bolt for the gate was meant to sit, trapping the soldiers inside. By now, individual Theban soldiers had scattered throughout the town and were being hunted like animals. Some made it atop the city walls and hurled themselves off in a last desperate attempt to escape the city. This would spell death for a vast majority of those soldiers. A handful of lucky soldiers happened upon a gate that was sealed by a wooden bar. Stealing a nearby axe, they chopped their way through and escaped into the storm-torn night. The last cohesive group of Theban soldiers mistook a large door into a building as a gate leading out of the city, and instead of getting out of the city, they found themselves trapped. The Plataean citizens debated burning the building to the ground, but in the end, they decided to negotiate with their Theban prisoners instead. An unconditional surrender was agreed upon, and now the 180 Theban soldiers were in Plataean hands. The Thebans who managed to escape were forced to march the 8 miles in the pouring rain back to Thebes. There they gathered a relief force and turned right back around, marching on Plataea to retrieve their captured brothers. Their plan? Gather up all the cattle and farmers from the neighboring countryside and use them as hostages to negotiate the release of the Theban prisoners. Days of nonstop rain had overflowed the Asposis River. Flooding in the area heavily delayed travel of this relief force. During this time, Plataea was able to send a messenger sprinting to Athens. Keep this in mind. When the Theban force eventually reached Plataea, the Plataeans were livid, and rightfully so. Thebes had tried to take the city through treachery and deceit. They did this well in a time of peace. Plataea thirsted for revenge. There are 2 contradictory accounts of how the negotiations actually went. The Thebans swear that the Plataeans promised to release the prisoners unharmed in exchange for the Theban force withdrawing and not ravaging the countryside. The Plataeans vehemently deny ever making such a promise. Regardless of where the truth lies, the Thebans did withdraw from Plataea's land. Plataea immediately gathered their farmers and cattle within the safety of their walls. This is where it gets a little dark. Not a heartbeat after everyone was gathered to safety, they executed all the prisoners, 180 men dead. Shortly after, Athens dispatched a messenger with a crystal clear message: do not kill any of the Theban prisoners. This message was a little bit too late. Sensing a storm was coming, Athens sent troops to Plataea and began evacuating the women, children, and slaves from the city. In the case of a siege, the less mouths, the better. To Plataea's surprise, their great and powerful ally, Athens, left a meager force of 80 soldiers to garrison the city. This is one of many times Athens would provide scant support to their ally over the course of this war. The grand result of all this bloodshed, it was war. And what's better once you have some bloodshed than more bloodshed? A peace treaty that was supposed to last 30 years was brazenly broken in 14 years by an attack on an Athenian ally. Sparta and Thebes mobilized for total war, a war that would consume Greece for 27 years of brutal conflict. The city of Plataea would play a crucial role in the years to come. And this is where we will pick up next time here on the Siege Captain, at the Siege of Plataea led by the Spartan king Archidamus. Thank you for watching. Make sure to tune in next time, because the second episode is going to be the meat and potatoes. We are going to dive deep into the Siege of Plataea. There's going to be lots of details on the next one. As always, I appreciate your time. Time is the one resource you cannot get more of. We have a finite time on this planet, and you decided to spend some of it with me. And now I am greedily asking for you to spend more time with me in the next episode. I deeply appreciate it, dear viewer. The Siege Captain is an eternal student. If I got any of my facts wrong, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, go forth, never execute your prisoners, and siege the day.
That one was good. That's the good one.
It's gonna be like a come together, came together. What are we doing? Are we coming or are we came in? Jape had came together.
Head. There's no head there.
Came together. Okay. Yep. All right. No one has come together. They just came.